Hello everyone, this is Bogern. Um, Gotten a few questions about my build that I'm currently playing with my musket and spear build. So I just want to show you guys real quick what I use. And I pretty much use overall the same type of build for all my builds that I play with musket. I just always use a different weapon for my secondary, which I will show some of that in the future. But for right now, I'll just show this musket and Venom build. And I'll just go quickly through my gear and then my abilities, and then I'll show you guys my skills setup. So here we go. First, and pretty much for all my builds, I always use featherweight, and then I always use life ring helm, and I always use the life ring shoes. So if we go from top, there's two ways to play this build. Sometimes I use crippling powder burn on my helmet, and then sometimes I use it on the musket. It just depends on what type of build you want to play. But anyways, so crippling powder burn on helmet. Then I use featherweight nature harnessing for my gloves. Nature harnessing again, elemental version, and then I stack refreshing a lot on all my builds pretty much. Pants are the only thing that I don't run harnessing on, but it's debatable if it's better or not to run harnessing instead of shirking energy. For me lately, I've been liking shuriken energy just for escapability purposes. Um, and then for boots, I used an enfeebling skewer and nature harnessing, of course. And I got rune glass gems on all five pieces for the extra damage. Um, Musket, I use two different muskets usually. It's both of my muskets are syncretics. The only difference is instead of accelerating traps, I use crippling powder burn, and then I'll put accelerating traps on the helmet. Um, Obviously, you could also play this build without traps. You could just use either sticky grenades or what's that other ability called? Or you could use stopping power. But I think that having with this build especially the ability to escape, having this much movement speed basically all the time makes a huge differences in fights, and it makes your survivability a lot better because this is a pretty aggressive build, and you kind of have low survivability because I don't run shuriken heals and I don't run health, so I have kind of low health and I don't have shuriken heals. So survivability is kind of a key for this build, and since it's not very high survivability, you gotta find a different way to survive. So that's why I use accelerating traps. And then obviously Venom. Venom, obviously everyone's doing the same thing right now. Bleeding sweep. And yeah, that's it. And then I always use stone form for all my musket builds so I can survive a lot longer. And this makes actually a huge difference in 1v1s, 1v2s, 1v3s. And just for this build specifically with the traps, I do use alacrity and I don't use health. So no health. Instead I use stam recovery and flame protection since I'm a low health build. I think this is the base case scenario for this build, and I'll show you why in a minute. Um, Red Hot Slag, of course, forward bloodletting because um, you have so many bleeds right now. So you have bleeds from the musket. If you see here, traps now apply bleed for 16% of your weapon damage for 5 seconds. So that instead of 5 seconds is actually more like 8 to 9 seconds. And that's because of bloodletting. And then also from your attributes, at 150, you get the 15% duration of damage over time effects. So the reason why this build makes sense is you're stacking a lot of bleeds. You trap someone, they're bleeding for about 8-9 seconds. The musket alone has keenly jagged, more bleeds. You got bleeding sweep, more bleeds, And you also have Skewer, which is more bleeds. And another dot you get is from when you do coup de grace. You also trigger the 20% damage over time, which is also a dot. So this build actually, when you do hit your abilities on someone and you mess around with them, and you can run around with traps for like super high amount of speed, and you can just run around and watch them bleed. So the damage is actually insane. Alright, next move on, and then obviously I use Endless Thirst, and since I asked stack Refreshing, I'm using Refreshing on it to get my 4 out of 4. And then next, let's go to, you can do attributes. I use, this normally it'd be just 360 and 150 and 100, so stack Dexterity of course, 150 Intelligence for the Musket, and to obviously get the light and heavy elemental attacks, and to get the elemental damage, and that actually helps the musket, or the spear. The spear actually does a lot of damage. You'd be surprised how much damage spear does with this setup. Alright, next we'll go to my abilities. We can do musket first. This is the musket setup. There's a few ways you can play this around. You can mess around with this, how you want to set it up. This is the way I like to play it. Doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. Everyone does it differently. So, yeah, this is what you can pause it or whatever and copy it if you care. If you don't, oh well. But once you trap someone and you shoot them one time, you will see their health disappear. This is a super high damage build. And let's go to Spear. Spear here, okay, I've been going back and forth between this. I feel like sometimes I want to run, so you can go either back and forth. You can remove this, and you can put it back into the deep wound. The only thing I'll say is, since obviously you can only get 20 second bleed, and you already are kind of getting close to that point with Skewer especially, and you know, obviously critical hits extend your debuffs by 20%. So you're getting about 16 to 17 second bleed just from Skewer itself if you don't get this. So this is not like a must or necessary, because by the time that Skewer comes up, you can just reapply the bleed on them. So it's not really a required point. So this is just the way I'm playing right now. It could change in the future. I may take this off, and I could put it back in here maybe. Against people with grit. So you know, like all the SNS boys, favorite weapon with the Venom. You know, it's their favorite thing to do right now. But this build actually shits on them, honestly. Yeah, this is the setup for the spear. And sorry if I'm rambling. This is kind of my first video of talking, so I'm not very good at it. So this is my setup. I went over that. So yeah, this is what I'm currently playing. I have a bunch of other builds that I do play that I can maybe make videos later on, but they're all basically involve musket, and the secondary is the only thing that will be different. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you like what I do and my playstyle, my builds, leave a like and subscribe if you'd like to. I'll try to make more videos in the future. I'm still learning how to edit and all that stuff, so I'm not very good at it, but I will try to do better. Alright, thank you all for watching. See y'all next time. Bye. Alright guys, quick continuation from my video. I forgot to show you guys the reason why I run Alacrity on my amulet when you run this type of build. So what happens is when you put a trap down, if you look down below, and look at how much movement speed you get for how long. So, you put a trap down, you get 7 seconds, and then just your normal dodge for whatever reason. I'm not sure if there's a bug going on right now, but sometimes when I put a trap down, sometimes the trap movement speed shows for 9 seconds instead of 7, and then sometimes your regular dodges also show for like 5 or 6 seconds instead of 3. So I'm not sure if it's meant to be like that or there's some type of bug going on. As per AGS, we're not new to bugs, so I'm not sure. But I know that in Season 4, your regular dodge would not increase with alacrity. It would stay at 3 seconds. But it seems like that has changed, because now just a regular dodge with having an alacrity amulet is 4 seconds. So when you put the trap down and you dodge, you will be running at almost 50, or you'll be like 40 some percent, or like 43% movement speed for a very long time. So this is kind of the bread and butter of this build, that you're able to escape. So you can basically run in circles around the enemy while they're bleeding out, and while you're musketing them. So yeah, just forgot to put that in there, but this is a very important part of this build. So learning how to trap makes a huge difference in this build. Alright, see y'all later.